So I'm going to ask you to just give me a little bit about yourself. Marie Gentles, you are a phenomenal woman. Yes, you are. Marie
Thank you.
Gentles OBE. And I'm very, very pleased that you have been referred to us, the Twinning Association, for our Black History Month event, our celebrations, where we really, really want to recognize those of us, those of you in the Black community who have contributed to Black health, right? And I've only just heard about you, but you have referred a link to your BBC program, and I realized, yes, I have seen you before.
Oh, okay.
So if you can tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course, no problem. So I qualified as a teacher about 20 years ago now. Can't believe I'm saying that now. And absolutely have loved every single moment of working with young people and teaching, etc. But very, very, very quickly, I moved into the area of why do some young people who are struggling with their emotions and which manifests as behavior, how can we better support those young people? Because why are they at times being excluded? When you kind of look at the proportion of young Black, especially boys as well, who are being excluded. And I really wanted to get deeper into the whys and what can we do to support these young people in terms of their mental health, and in terms of their emotions, so that they're able to better cope within school and then ultimately within society. So I went then to work after, about just under 10 years working in the mainstream sector. I went to work in a pupil referral unit, and it was absolutely brilliant. Loved every moment of it. Became the head teacher there, and we brought that provision up to outstanding, a grading from Ofsted as well. But I was also asked to set up some nurture groups in a London borough. That's how I got my OBE, because we had such a high percentage. It was 95 to 100% of young people who would come to the nurture group, and then we would integrate them back into their school, and then they would go on to succeed in school. And that's when the Department for Education kind of recognised the work and started looking a little bit closer at, well, what are you doing actually? How is this working? What are you doing? And since then, it's kind of manifested, ended up then obviously doing a BBC documentary, filming for a second one currently, and it's just written a book. So it's all kind of snowballed. It's been really quick. But I enjoy every single moment of it. I really, really mean that.
That is such it's absolutely worthy because so many families suffer with this sort of issue. And having said that, what kind of feedback do you get from parents and the children?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I think a lot of the time they just feel this relief that, oh my gosh, there's someone who gets it, who understands. There's nothing wrong with me or my child. It's just that we need to understand what their needs are and then how to meet those needs. And so often it's the kind of that just thank you, really, just thank you. This is life changing. You helped to change the direction of my child's life. But I have to say, it's important to say that there are so many good services out there. No one person, I don't believe, can go and entirely change something. I think it's about that multi-agency work. I think it's important to say that can support these young people, but then the young people themselves as well. And what's really nice is some young people who I worked with when they were younger and now they're older, and they'll come back and they'll just say thank you. And they'll just say, oh, I see what you were saying now. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being consistent. Thank you for not giving up on me. And to me, that is, if that's empowering to them and their parents, then I'm doing something, or we're doing something really, really right. And to me, that's what's important. It's about empowering and upskilling. It's not about me coming in and doing it all for you. It's about being able to empower and upskill others so they feel empowered themselves. That's really important to me, actually.
And with the local authorities, how many education authorities have signed up for your program?
Oh my gosh, I've kind of lost count now, to be honest.
Oh, well, that's a good sound.
It is very good. I've literally worked right across the country, gone to Yorkshire, oh my gosh, just everywhere, literally almost everywhere.
So how do you get your referrals?
So it's mainly, at the moment, interestingly, there's been a lot of word of mouth, funnily enough. But off the back of the BBC documentary that I've done, that's where a lot of the interest came. And then through my website, that's where lots of people can go and they can sign up or they can book training. From next year, the training will be available online because I physically can't get around everyone anymore. And so there's a training program that's developed for adults who support young people, and there'll be one specifically for parents as well, where they can go online and you can sign yourself up, or often schools will refer, or social care sometimes, because I don't work with social care, they can refer as well.
So this, for Black History Month, the theme for this month is Black Health and Wellbeing.
Yeah.
Hence, we're doing this. And it's not just, as you say, in the health service, yours is through the education service.
Yes.
In your opinion, why is it important that diversity is reflected in both nursing and education professionals?
Because there's a crossover, because ultimately what I always talk about is the fact that when we think about education, for example, and these young people, I always talk about the mindset behind the behaviour support. And actually we are dealing with people ultimately. And these young people, we hear this all the time, they're the next generation, etc. So it's so important for them to understand from this very young age that your mental health is really important to understand and to be supported. But also it's very important for young people to look at me and think to themselves, oh, you look like me, or and to be representing in that way at this level is so important to me. It's so important about how I spread that message and the platforms I'm able to spread that message on. Yeah. And these are our communities at the end of the day. These are our communities. So we should be representing our communities within roles.
And how does the lack of diversity at the top decision levels impact our Black communities in health and education?
Oh, this is a really big and good question. And I would say there are many, many really great professionals doing really great things. But ultimately, if you don't have lived experiences of certain things, it can be difficult to support from a place where you haven't had the experience from that point of view. So I think that diversity at those levels is absolutely fundamental, because we need to, if we're going to adequately support these young people, we need to have more of an understanding of the way communities think, the experiences that they've had, how that's impacted on them, how that's manifested in different ways. And then once we have that understanding, then we can adequately support them. Yeah. So that's why I think it's absolutely vital.
The buzzword, for want of a better expression, is equality, diversity, and inclusion. For many phrases like that, there is a lot of sort of lip service, I believe, that goes with this. How can we see the reality of this? How can that be played out in the health service?
Think the reality has to be, so when I think about education, I think it's got to start all the way from things like from when the children are young. So when they're young, we need to start off showing them what you can do this, you can have a say, you can choose to do these roles should you choose to, because it's going to be those young people as they grow who are then going to be the ones choosing which profession to go into, and feeling that actually I can become a doctor should I choose to, I can become a teacher, whatever it is you want to do. But I think it starts really, really young. And embedding that can do into them, and whilst we do have to sometimes talk about challenges, etc., I think it's also about talking about the other side of that as well, and understanding if there are obstacles, don't be afraid of them or run away from them. This is how we can overcome them. These are the ways that we can do that. So they feel that they have opportunities and choice. And I think that's what's really important.
Right. So how can a community organization like the Waltham Forest Twinning Association help with your work?
Oh my goodness. I just think it's about it's about connections. So I think it's about making connections within the community. So once we have connections, if there was a situation where there was a school or a family or whatever it may be in need, if there's a connection, if we have those connections, it can be, oh, I know a practitioner who may be able to support you. And the same from kind of my side as well. If I'm working with young people or organizations or whatever it may be, I'm able to think, oh, actually, I know someone or some people who we may be able to connect up, and we can join together and think about how we can do things differently. To me, what's really important is word of mouth, but equally connecting. So we're not all doing different individual things in different places. We're actually, how do we bring this together? How and when can we meet, and how can our work complement each other? So to me, those connections are really, really important.
Well, I think these are very, very valuable words that you've just spoken, because we are looking on how we can reach out to young people more and more, because quite our experience as an organization is that the older people come to us, but we need to now, while we're reviewing our strategy, to connect with more young people and do what we think that can help them with their mental health and their well-being generally. Thank you so much, Marie. Please tell us a little bit more about how, I know you mentioned your website, and we will certainly put some more information on our website about you. So if there's anything that you'd like to add to what you've already said, please do.
Thank you so much. I think just to say that, just to kind of remind ourselves as individuals that we're all working towards a greater cause or a greater good. And it's just step by step, and things are happening and they are moving. And let's just keep uplifting and empowering each other in the work that we're doing, so that can continue to snowball on. And I think the final thing I just want to say is that I'm really trying to find ways to reach the masses. So like I've said, I've written a book that comes out next year, etc. And I also want to utilize my platform. So you just talked about the fact that wanting to reach out to more young people, I'm sure there's others like me who'd be more than happy to go and do a talk for young people, or, things like that. I'm always looking for different ways to spread the message and support, and just to come together and make those connections in the best way that we can.
Thank you. I'm hoping that we can speak to others on this project in the next few days. And so we can enrich the information and the material that we've got for Black History Month 2022. And I'm looking forward again to reconnecting with you and seeing what we can do in the future.
Absolutely. I just think it's so good, like the work that you're doing. It's just so fantastic. But you're right. I think that, like you said, if we can spread that out and roll that out to some of to keep, obviously, every generation is important, but to reach some of those younger generations as well. And I think it's doable and possible. I think the new generations coming up, they're very strong. They know what they want, but often they don't quite know sometimes how to get there, or how to and sometimes I think if we can give them a pathway or a platform for a voice, but we don't want to lose that drive in them. We just need to help, direct them to where they want to go. They're very strong, this generation coming up, and sometimes they're misunderstood.
And capable.
Yes,
very
absolutely,
capable.
Absolutely. So yeah, brilliant work. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful.